Let's take a step back then and look at what Rishi Sunak will be most known for in 2023. Let's start with this.
5 promises to you today. First, we will halve inflation this year. Second, we will grow the economy. Third.
Right, so halving inflation. So this is let's go over like Rishi Sunak's 5 pledges. People keep banging on about this being the people's priorities. And he said, you should judge me on my record. I remember the speech right at the start of the year. I literally reacted to them directly, both Starmer and Rishi giving start of year speeches. I was very, very dismissive of both of them, right? But Rishi Sunak made 5 pledges to the public at the start of the year, right? One of them was bringing down inflation was the first one, right? And I said, I'm gonna be really, really nitpicky with this one and say, we will halve inflation. You will halve you've done things to halve inflation, have you? Is that a thing that you've done, Rishi? Is that a thing that you've done over the course? I don't believe you have. I don't believe that anything that the government has done has brought down inflation. Because, of course, the inflation was already a part of supply chain shocks, which have then got better as time's gone on, right? Things to do with the energy crisis, grain supplies out of Ukraine. These are all things that were just going to get better over time. There's no actual political policy that's been passed by the Conservative government that's caused inflation to fall. They just waited for time to pass. That's what they've done, right? They've been there whilst time has passed. Like if you actually look at the inflationary figures, the month-on-month annualized inflation figures have literally been 0 every month since June. Prices haven't been rising since June. The supply chain shocks have gone through the system. We're losing the months of high inflation from 12 months ago. We've not really had any actual real inflation for the last kind of 4 or 5 months or so. But people's wages haven't gone up to compensate. The issue is, of course, is that people are still poor because prices haven't come down because deflation is bad, and wages haven't gone up because we don't have good bargaining rights and we don't have good union coverage in this country. So that's why people are still poor, and why the cost of living crisis is unsolvable if you're a Conservative. You cannot solve the cost of living crisis if you're a Conservative government. It just doesn't work because they don't want you to have the tools to fight it, which is to actually fight for higher wages so that you're back to where you were in real terms before the inflationary spiral happened. And of course, that's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen under Conservative governments. You need to have proper progressive governance for that to work. And will we get proper union bargaining under Labour? It remains to be seen. I don't think that we can really take any of Starmer's words as being in any way concrete. So, we can only hope at this point. The second one is about growing the economy. Now, there was a revision in terms of economic growth, but that was a revision because of a change in methodology at the Office for Budget Responsibility. It wasn't anything to do with there being more growth. It was just the figures were higher than we thought they were in terms of GDP. There's not been any actual real growth. I think we've been kind of lagging around predictions about 0.1, 0.2%. And actually, when you look at growth-wise, we're literally predicted to be going into recession next quarter. There's some statistics that might show that we've been in recession already, but people are disputing this. But if we have another quarter of negative growth, we will literally be in recession. So that one's a massive failure. Not only has the economy not even grown very much at all over the last 12 months, we're predicted as soon as we go into the new year for there to be another recession. Literally going to be another recession. So looking forward to that. And the complete ironic thing about this is that I'm actually not going to blame Rishi Sunak for this. I'm not going to blame Rishi Sunak for the recession because it's not his fault. It's literally not going to be his fault that we're going into recession. It's going to be the Bank of England and the Monetary Policy Committee for continually raising rates whilst inflation was coming down, whilst monthly annualized inflation rates were really low and also coming down rapidly because the supply shocks had finished. They were then still increasing rates to dampen down demand when demand wasn't the driver of inflation. So they just engineered a recession. I mean, I guess you could blame Sunak for not overruling the Monetary Policy Committee, but we're going into recession because he didn't have, the actual guts to go after the Bank of England when they were raising rates unnecessarily. But then again, Sunak follows the same economic principles and all of the monetarists in the Bank of England do, so he probably would have done the same thing. So there you go. That's another pledge failed. Third, we'll make sure our national debt is falling so that we can secure the future of public services. First of all, national debt falling means less money going into public services, so I don't know how you got that to work. Second of all, that's not a thing that's happened either. 2022-2023 is 97.1% debt to GDP ratio, and it's predicted to increase by the end of the financial year to 97.9. Like, there is a prediction that it might fall in 25, 26, 26, 27, but even then there's going to be another year of increasing debt to GDP ratio over time, right? So they've not even reduced the debt whilst also inflicting all this fiscal austerity because they've had loads of money to be able to dole out to their cronies in the private sector as well. So that is yet another one of their promises failed. That's pledge number 3, nonsense, right? Pledge number 1, they had nothing to do with it. Pledge number 2, completely failed on. Pledge number 3, completely failed on. Number 4 is NHS waiting lists will fall and people will get the care they need more quickly. Wouldn't you be surprised that the waiting lists are continually increasing? There are some stats showing that people waiting an inordinately long time, those numbers are slightly decreasing, but the actual number of people on the waiting list is still increasing at this point. And they were increasing, to be fair, from 2010 onwards. And they have put record funding into the NHS. So, this is kind of a George Osborne problem rather than a Rishi Sunak problem. But it's not me who made the pledge, Rishi. It's your own fault for making a pledge that you knew you literally weren't able to keep. And so that's literally another version of his pledges failed miserably. This is your 2023 wrapped, Rishi, and you've already failed on 3 out of your 5 pledges, and one of them you didn't even do anything for. And number 5, passing new laws to stop small boats, making sure that if you come to this country legally, you are detained and swiftly removed. So technically he never pledged to actually stop the boats, just making laws with which he can use to stop the boats. But that law only just had its first reading a week ago, right, 2 weeks ago. That's not even become on the statute books yet. So he's actually passed no laws to help with that either. And the boats are still happening. So even if you take this as a pledge, not necessarily to stop the boats, but to pass the laws, he's not done that. He's not done that because that's still not on the statute books yet. And second of all, if you do think that it's a pledge to stop the boats, he's not even stopped the boats either, because the boats are still coming, right? There was a reduction because of inclement weather over the autumn period, but the boats are still coming, right? A reduction of a third is not stopping the boats. There are still boats happening, right? There's still boats coming across. So he's not stopped them either. So that's 5 pledges, 5 failures. And so what's great, right? What's great is that you have a choice. You have a choice, chat, at the next election. Your choice is a man who makes 5 pledges, tries to keep them and fails miserably at 80% of them. That's your choice the next election, folks. People who are either terrible at keeping pledges or don't even care about making them in the first place and will just lie to your face. Love it. Brilliant. Big fan. So where's all the extra money gone? Into the pockets of donors, into the cronies. There was the tax cut on national insurance. There was a cut in business rates, I believe, in the last statement. There was a cut to businesses for investment purposes, quote unquote, and they gave money to private sector contractors as well. So it's and also spending money on the Rwanda plan. The loads of money they spent on that to build houses in Rwanda that we're not using. So that is an excellent year for Rishi Sunak, I think. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership to just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.